The Doctor Who Character Options 5.5 action figure range remains one of the most collectible and highly thought of forms of memorabilia among Doctor Who fans. With such intricate detail and realistic proportions, the Character Options range is a popular and creative range for fans to collect, and are arguably the highest articulated action figures ever produced for the series. This new presentation of the Character Options 5.5 figures shares the journey Character Options has gone across for over 20 years of their immensely successful Doctor Who product range, covering the origins of the business to their earliest action figures and their evolution that has run simultaneously with the programme across various Doctors and eras, the 50th anniversary, and to their online and B&M exclusives, alongside the enduring agony fans have had to go through in order to acquire sets from stores or across second-hand markets. This is the story of the 5.5 Character Option toys, one of the most beloved Doctor Who merchandise ranges of all. I am a regular collector of the range and have engaged on my fanfiction accounts of my various figures displayed in poses and in dioramas, creating the illusion that the images are shots from specific stories have greatly helped me to inspire to create my own stories and adventures. I am proud of the work I have collected in building armies of villains such as Daleks and Cybermen. Character Options has been the holder of the BBC's main toy license since 2005. Previous Doctor Who related toys released by Corgi, Daypal or Dennis Fisher remain still highly collectible items to search for. The launch of Doctor Who under this new brand, the Character Group, was to engage in the design, development and international distribution of toys and games. The group currently has offices in London, Manchester, Hong Kong and China, and employs around 200 people. The company has been active since 1991. Al Duar, thanks to his commitment to Doctor Who, was thankfully able to bring the franchise to Character Options. This was the perfect time for the company following the major success of the first series of the revival. In September 2005, the very first 5.5 Character Option figures were released. A Ninth Doctor in a burgundy jumper in a disco-looking position was released in a twin pack with 2 remote-controlled Daleks and authentic voices and flash-up lights. The first range of Character Options figures officially commenced in February 2006. Character Options evidently embraced the popularity of the new Doctor Who, and their toy lines soon filled up shops across the UK to levels completely unexpected only years beforehand. This would continue to grow as more figures would continue to be released to add to the collections of fans young and old. A San Diego Comic-Con exclusive from summer 2008 was released based on a set around Time Crash and contained a 10th Doctor with a 5th Doctor figure. This marked the first release of a classic series figure to the 5.5-inch range. Sets of figures were regularly released alongside the Doctor's sonic screwdrivers as accessories. A UK release of the Time Crash set was also made available to only 100 units. The possibility of a classic series wave of figures was deemed by Character to be unlikely to happen when previously asked about doing classic series figures. However, in the summer of 2007, Gallifrey Base reported that due to the success of the Modern Who toy line, Character Options would be releasing classic Doctors and Monsters for 2008. The line would mainly focus on the Philip Hinchcliffe era of the series, argued to be the best era of the programme in its entire history. The line would consist of the 4th Doctor from Season 12 with sonic screwdriver and interchangeable heads, the 5th Doctor from Season 21, the 6th Doctor from Attack of the Cybermen with the sonic lance, a Sea Devil, Roton the Zygon Warlord from Terror of the Zygons, SB7 and D84 robots included with various accessories from the Robots of Death, and Magnus Grill and Mr. Sin together from the Talons of Wayne Chiang. All these figures would feature a piece of a figure that would form the K1 robot as a Build-A-Wave set. By 2008, a leaked photo image had showed various changes to the wave. The 5th Doctor was eventually released based on Season 19 as opposed to Season 21, and the 2 Vought robots were to be packaged separately. Character even designed their own logo for the classic series wave, featuring a Pertwee McGann style logo. The sets were released in a background style which showed Regeneration energy. The giant robot was once assembled by getting all the figures and included the disintegrator gun. The line also consisted of a special Dalek set containing a Dalek from the Daleks, the Supreme Dalek from Planet of the Daleks, and a Dalek from Genesis of the Daleks. The Daleks were released in a pack together with a background about each story they came from, and the Daleks themselves could have had their eye stalks taken out if so wished. This feature was later removed in future sets. Plans for the next wave of figures consisted of the 7th Doctor from Ghostlight, the 8th Doctor, a Mondasian Cyberman, the Master from the Deadly Assassin, an Ice Warrior, Morbius, an Osiron robot mummy, a standard Vought robot, and a Build-A-Wade Crinoid figure. Whilst these figures would all later appear in the range, the 2009 wave would look slightly different when it eventually materialised. The classic series Wave 1 set had been incredibly successful and paved the way for more figures from the original series to come. The first Cybermen action figures from classic Doctor Who followed in early 2009, from Cybermen based on the 10th planet, the Tomb of the Cybermen, the Invasion, and the Cyber Leader from the next Doctor. Once completed together, these figures formed the Cyber Controller from the Tomb of the Cybermen. More figures followed in July. These figures were available at San Diego Comic-Con, the Forbidden Planet and Underground Toys websites. This consisted of the First Doctor and Saucer Commander Dalek from the Dalek Invasion of Earth. A black and white version of this set was available for only 1,250 units. A Second Doctor and Cyberman from the Tomb of the Cybermen was also made available, as was a black and white version for also 1,250 units. These were the first figures made of William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton, and other than the Daleks collector's set from 2008, were the first 1960s figures to be made available. A version of the 6th Doctor from the webcast of Real Time with a Sonic Lance was also made available, a set which is now particularly highly sought after by collectors. Forbidden Planet and Underground Toys, in collaboration with Character, continued to release special exclusives of their sets online for many years. This continued with the regenerated 6th Doctor from the Caves of Androzani. A second Dalek collector set was released in August, with the Saucer Pilot from the Dalek Invasion of Earth, the Emperor Guard Dalek from the Evil of the Daleks, and the Supreme Dalek from Day of the Daleks. The same month, a 4th Doctor's Adventure set was released, comprising of a Season 12 Tom Baker with swappable heads and a sonic screwdriver, a standard Vought robot from the Robots of Death, a robot mummy with jackal head jar from Pyramids of Mars, and a suicide Dalek from Destiny of the Daleks. Forbidden Planet and Underground Toys continued their classic Doctor Who figure releases with 3 Third Doctor themed sets. The Third Doctor was featured alongside a re-released Sea Devil, giant maggots, and a Dalek from Death to the Daleks. The year of 5.5 figures ended in December with a Forbidden Planet and Underground Toys release of a new 4th Doctor based on Pyramids of Mars. With the debut of Matt Smith's era of Doctor Who, the releases of the new series figures adapted to the new stylistic tone to the series, presenting images in a new packaging to reflect the current series. Further exciting releases continued to follow based on classic Doctor Who stories. The 11 Doctor set, one of the best releases of any Doctor Who merchandise, comprised a set featuring all 11 incarnations alongside their accessories, and thereby presenting the first action figure of the range based on the 8th Doctor. Other particularly exciting releases of the era was the 11th Doctor's TARDIS set, along with the 11th Doctor's TARDIS console control room. Doctor and electronic TARDISes were released alongside sets made from specific stories, as backgrounds of characters' bios were supplied with story details of the figures they were based on. Classic Doctor Who figures were primarily based on various Doctors and monsters and villains, plus occasional companion releases. The action figure sets were becoming increasingly more sophisticated and impressive on each release, with sets comprising the Dr. Sontaran and Sontaran chip, for example. Perhaps the most impressive were the Dalek and Davros packs, based on all 5 classic Dalek and Davros stories, each containing at least 2 Daleks within each set. Comprising new action figures of the Doctor and Davros across all his 5 adventures, and various Daleks, these became some of the most desirable releases to date. The character options range was primarily focusing on the classic series range beyond 2011, with several releases from the newest episodes still pouring out. The 50th anniversary year saw the launch of character options' figures in 3.75-inch form based on current episodes, while more sets were released of classic episodes in 5.5 form. The Doctor and Dalek sets, based on one of each Doctor's Dalek stories, released more new-style Doctor and Dalek variants, coupled with the launch of the electronic Dalek sets, which were released individually between 2012 and 2013. As the quality of the programme's merchandise sales declined throughout the Peter Capaldi era, fewer figures were being released from the range. Typically, other more popular eras were having more frequent releases as opposed to the current Doctor's lineup. The launch of B&M's Budget Savers release of figures in 2014 would begin to see many older figures re-released in packs to help serve the fans who missed out previously on the vast amount of figures released based on Series 1 to 6. As so many figures had now been produced, many of these figures were tweaked to slightly alter their appearance, so fans would not feel they are simply rebuying the same figure they previously purchased. Figures were regularly improved with better tooling to their original versions. B&M were ordering these sets from character for their stores. Their budget for their figures was small and could only afford to re-release characters, or to minorly alter their appearance. As a pittance of 12 Doctor-based action figures were released, another one of the most impressive sets character released was the 13 Doctors set, comprising of every single incarnation including the War Doctor, which came out in summer 2016. As B&M shifted their attention to re-releasing many more classic Who figures, both re-releasing older figures and creating new figures based on already existing characters, the appeal of their sets quickly sparked further fan attention. For many fans, the enduring agony of collecting and hunting for new figures from B&M stores commenced. Many a time, figures would be often impossible to find. Only selected stores would receive sets, and bearing in mind that not everyone lives close to a B&M, as a result of patchy distribution with no way of finding out when or if stock of figures will be arriving, B&M eventually launched their own website to purchase the figures from their online store. However, poor delivery service of fans' purchases quickly put an end to purchasing figures directly from their website. This was worsened with the scalpers, buyers who clear entire shelves of stock and put these sets on second-hand markets such as eBay for double, triple, quadruple the price and more to sell. These for many were the only way of acquiring sets, even if they were for ridiculous prices. The problem of this was worsened by fans who bought these sets for highly inflated prices, which made scalpers succeed in making a business for themselves out of this scandal. As a result, buying toys had become too expensive for many as a result of high costs. A third and final problem for fans to endure when collecting sets is when fans hoard all the sets for themselves. These may not even have been to army build, in particular the Daleks, but fans were buying at least 10 of each set and kept them boxed away. It's understandable why fans may buy 2 sets of each, one to keep in the box and the other to open, play and display with. B&M were unable to prevent any of this from continuing to happen. These problems were only worsened as the years rolled on for fans collecting an exciting new era of 5.5-inch figures. A new branding of the Doctor Who production line began to affect the character option range starting from 2019. Sets were now encased in a TARDIS blue packaging and were accompanied with an ugly new logo. Now, any set specifically based on a story featured dioramas again to allow figures to be placed in a background of a specific adventure. Many of these sets contained a blurb about the story they were based on, or around various production details. The first of this was the regenerated 4th Doctor and TARDIS based on Robot. The following summer, various other Doctor and TARDIS sets, 3-pack sets, and Doctor and Dalek sets from Big Finish stories were released from B&M. These figures served as the basis for the style that character would be working towards. The Doctor and TARDIS sets would be popular releases from specific stories and would usually be non-electronic. The 3-pack sets were budget releases that would be re-releases of older sets with tweaks, or new figures that use existing bodies of earlier releases. This popular style continued into 2020 with further new releases of companions, further Doctor and TARDIS releases, and the start of the History of the Daleks range. Figures based on each classic series Dalek stories re-released for fans with new tooling and articulation. September 2020 saw the first release in many years of the Character Online exclusive, The Jungles of Mechanus. These limited edition sets, exclusive to Character, brought about some of the most desired figures to be released in the range. Newer releases of figures alongside electronic TARDISes quickly became an excitement for fans each year. 2020 brought about the most amount of figures in Character's range in recent years. As the B&M range continued to expand with their History of the Dalek sets, 3-pack figures, and Doctor and TARDIS sets, some of the budgets imposed on B&M brought about some questionable decisions for releases for action figures. The 2020 Unit 1975 Terror of the Zygon set featured a standard unit trooper. The 2021 Earthshock set featured no Cybermen, in spite of the fact the serial is cherished as being one of the best Cybermen stories ever made. The 10th Doctor B&M set released figures that were not based on any of his TV adventures. An electronic TARDIS set was based on an adventure in space and time, and a 9th Doctor set re-released the 9th Doctor with bluer trousers than the blacker trousers he actually wore. The price of producing these sets went up, and meant that various superb details about these sets, such as the regular diorama, would start to disappear from these releases. The range once again rebranded itself, as the majority of Doctor Who brand did in 2023, now sporting the diamond-shaped logo. The B&M and Character Online exclusive releases remain strong and as popular as ever with fans and collectors. Fans remain dedicated to building their action figure releases of sets both older and newer. Versions of Doctors, companions and villains will continue to be released from Character and will add to the ever-growing collections of fans' delight of their favourite series. For interest, Character have prepared various prototype figures, many of which produced in their earliest years have been released in due course, including the Sensorite figures, the Second Doctor in his fur coat, the Yeti, and a Richard Herndl First Doctor from the 5 Doctors. Other yet unreleased prototype figures include a version of the Second Doctor from the Power of the Daleks, a Season 18 4th Doctor wearing a burgundy hat, and a 7th Doctor in his duffel coat from the Curse of Fenric. Perhaps someday we may eventually see these figures come to be released. For now, fans can enjoy the figures we already have, whether to play with them to create new adventures, display in stands and cases, or for customizations.